hello there, humans, bees, earthlings, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, and if you're lucky enough indeed to be doing it too. I'm Bushka, and today I want to talk to you about getting the most out of your vehicle, but mainly about using tanks the way they were intended to be used. A lot of people play Blitz, and they play it with this weird mindset that if you are not at the front taking damage, then you are a coward. And I've done this video, that video concept before, and that if they die and someone is not at the front taking damage, it's that person's fault that they're dead. That's bollocks. We won't be buying into that rubbish at all. And that's not what this video is about, but it leads you to a greater question than what exactly are they doing if they're not at the front taking damage. The guys at Wargaming get a lot of crap and a lot of flack about things that happen within the game of Blitz. Most notably imbalances, crates, all kinds of stuff. But I want to talk about the play style and how they work tanks based on a certain set of characteristics. Now, everyone can do what I'm doing here, okay? Every tank in the game can do what I'm doing here, which is fire a shot, pull back, wait for a reload, go back out, try and bait shots out of other tanks, go back, fire a shot, wait for a reload, whatever. Changed from HE to APCR because whatever, that didn't work and he didn't die and you kind of shot back in turn because you didn't clear him out, and it's just standard kind of Blitz gameplay. But the guys who make the tanks don't build them like this. They build them with specifics in mind. And it reminded me when I played on stream yesterday in the Lorraine 40T, and the way I played it and the way the tank is built really reminded me of how important it is to know what your tank does. And the clues are in the pudding, like they're right there. It's M60, you get a master every time you play the thing, no one plays it. This is the Lorraine 40T, it's a lovely tank. The Lorraine 40T has absolutely no armor, right? Absolutely no freaking armor. It is a horrible, horrible armor profile. And yet, I mean, you've got to get damage out somehow. Now, you're an autoloader, so your job is to put out those 4 rounds in a clip into one tank. Try and clear targets, do as much damage as you can, but it's not to bounce shots. So what you want to be doing in this tank is vampiring off the hit point pool of your big heavies and other tanks to as great an effect as possible and clearing targets that are low hit points. The worst thing you can do in this tank is drive it front line and peekaboom, because its alpha on its own is not great, right? And your value is diminished tremendously when you duck out, take one shot, duck back in, and then they don't come out again for ages. And so they're basically trading 400, 640 alpha shots, 310 alpha shots for your 225, and that's a bad trade. Like, it's a stupid thing, and you're very likely to get hit with a HE shot on the side while you do this. So you want to empty out a clip into targets. So you find opportunities to do that, and you dump damage. Think of it like this. Every tank has a clue as to what it should be hitting and how it should be played. The T62A has fantastic amounts of DPM, but it only has a 310 alpha damage roll. You've got a really strong turret. You've got an upper glacis that when angled can create auto bounce zones. So do you think that maybe the guys at Wargaming anticipate that that tank will deliver its payload by angling up severely on slight edges and berms in the landscape, and turning those slight edges and berms in the landscape into very good defensive positions so it can spend more time on target and bounce shots? You've also got mobility with that tank and good camo, and these things allow you to take advantage of stuff. The Lorraine 40T is a very quick tank with no armor profile and 4 in the clip. Its job is to find situations where it can clip people out, and it can get those shots out in a reasonably good and workmanlike manner. And if you save your hit point pool till the end of the game, you can actually do that and use your hit point pool to just absorb some shots from the bad guys at the end, and eventually, you know, get that damage done. And we're actually going to get 3 into this guy and then let him think we're running away, and then we're going to ram him as he comes forward, take a lot of his hit point pool, because we are quite a tubby little tank. Here we go. And that hurt quite a bit, because he's quite a tubby little tank too. We're trying to put our gun in front of his gun. And there we go. Clear. The Leopard 1, for instance, is a tank that has absolutely no armor profile, but it's got a similar DPM number to the T62A. Not as high, but similar. Same, but different. And if you think about it, what the Leopard 1 has is a little bit different to the T62A, despite the fact that it has no armor, is a very, very marginal increase, about 11% worth of alpha damage. So it can afford to be more peek-a-boom, more hit point tradie than a T62A, because it can actually shoot someone for 350 alpha at very nice ranges and then turn around and go back into cover. Whereas a T62A does that, if it's forced to do that, it's 310 alpha. That's like 40 damage. It doesn't sound like a lot, but that's over 10% difference in alpha strike. That's very, very important. So the game has hints as to how your tank is meant to be played by the characteristics of your tank. This is an Object 263. I love this tank. I adore it. Everyone knows that. I try not to do too many videos on that, and I think I've been pretty good with that. Despite the fact that what I end up doing quite often is playing tanks at tier 10 that are facsimiles of the Object 263. Now the 263 has incredible firepower, 460 alpha, great pen, wonderful mobility, and a very, very awkward to pen armor profile if you move it, wiggle it, and jiggle it. What a lot of people do with tanks like this is they play it passively. The game is telling you that this tank needs to be played in a way that will, maximize the time on target, because it's got such massive damage per minute numbers, and will also maximize the armor profile so that you can bounce. Now you can do that at medium to long ranges, but it can really be super effective up close and personal. And that's because the brutal maths of Blitz is quite simply that if you get the first shot in this tank, there isn't a tier 10 tank that you need to worry about if they sit in front of you and you sit in front of them. Like, if you land that first shot and then they turn around and start looking at you, you will be able to clear them out. And that means you can literally clear massive big hit point tanks, which is pretty impressive. And the guys at Wargaming make these tanks with these minor variations for this particular reason. They make tanks with 8 degrees gun depression instead of 10, so that they can use gun depression, but they can't use it to such a degree that their turret becomes impenetrable. They make tanks like, some of the German mediums where you get gun depression, but you only get it over the side of the tank, so that you can't just sit there hull down. You've got to angle the tank up and expose a little bit and take a risk. They try and balance the game based on these factors, and sure, sometimes they screw it up and it's not perfect. But what I really like about them is that if you are a good enough player and you recognize the value of what your tank can do, then you can find all kinds of slots and ways to apply that damage and be incredibly successful. And once you get used to a tank, and this is one of the reasons why the more you drive a tank and the better you get at it, the better off you'll be, you can then go hog wild. Once you know the limits of your vehicle, once you know what it can actually pull off, you can do crazy things, and you can bounce shots in tanks like the 263 because the other guys don't understand exactly what it is that your vehicle can do. Now, I think the whole point of this video is that if you're whinging about a tank not working, it's very likely that you're just driving it wrong. There are very few tanks in the game, the TOG aside, that are the fault of the driver, that are the fault of the tank. It's nearly always the fault of the driver. Wargaming will generally give your tank a way to be successful. That's all there is to it. And if you don't recognize that, if you can't read the signs, then it's because you're not good enough or you're not thinking hard enough. And that's generally it. It's not about being... You can't just drive these tanks the same way for every freaking tank. Look at these two games. One of them, I've done most of my damage in the tight, up close and personal in the 263. The other one in a Lorraine 40T, I've done in a tier 9 game, but I've done 4,000 damage well outside the scope of the gameplay. Like, really just vampiring off everyone's hit points. Because that's how the tank's meant to be driven. That's all there is to it. That's exactly how the tank's meant to be driven. And if you don't understand that as a player, then the only one that's going to be suffering from it is you. Stop looking for excuses, boys and girls. Get out there and look at the characteristics of your favorite mongrel and make it work. Be sure to join the Discord server. There is a link there in the description of the videos. I'm trying to make it a little bit more interactive rather than just a place to congregate, but still there's plenty of congregation going on there and a lot of people chatting about Blitz and other parts beyond. I'm Bushka. Look after yourselves, and as always, stay safe on the battlefield. Bye for now.